us learn. Before we start, as you realized from last month, we started off by taking some data from you. So we're doing the same this time round, and I would entreat you all to please fill in the questionnaire, help us get to learn so we can improve upon ourselves and get you the best that we all need you to get. So our poll would be launched very soon. Godfred, can you help us with that? So we're going to launch thank you. It's on now. Please take some few minutes, go through it, answer it. So I would stop talking for 2 minutes so you can fill the poll. Thank you. And if you've not informed others, kindly alert them that it's time. So they should also come. Come and fill the form, the poll that we've set up. Help us get some information. We have 44 people in here. However, we see only 2 people filling it and having completed. Please help us. Hey, Nidra, you can't see the poll, eh?
Okay,
I
so
saw it, I
if
was
you
filling
are
it and then it just went off. That's why I was asking.
okay, so if you're using a phone, you can locate it at the top left corner of your phone. I think there'll be some 4 dots somewhere. Click on it, it should appear again. Same for those
Yours also
using.
just went off. Okay, so Godfrey just explained that if you're using a phone, you should see some 3 or 4 dots at a corner somewhere, whether left or right. Please
I
check.
can't seem to find the dots. I don't know if it's my phone, but I can't find it.
All right, so let me just relaunch it.
There's
Yes.
no dots, 3 dots on the screen.
Okay, we are
Let me
relaunching the
relaunch it.
poll, so you help us. Thank you.
Please, is it on now?
And please, you see from your screens, you see the poll?
On the laptop, yes.
On the laptop, yes. Okay. So what of the others? Please, do you see the poll?
Yes, I can see it now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see. I couldn't, I was typing quickly before it disappears again.
Oh, so it's gone again?
I don't know, I'm done.
You're done. Thank God. Okay. Okay, so we have 10 people having filled it. We're still waiting. Okay, so as you keep filling the poll, I would talk through it so we don't take much of the time from our speakers. So we tend to enjoy everything set for us for today. Yes, as you saw on the flyers, we did tell you that we are not bringing one, neither two, but we are having the whole team, our psychology department. The whole team is here to help us understand what emotional well-being is. How then do we know? How do we help ourselves? How do we help our kids? How do we help even our friends? What are some of the things that we can learn to equip ourselves and then others too? That is why we have I'll first start off. So it's going to be in the form of 3 different presentations. And as they present, if you have any questions, any concerns whatsoever, kindly type it in the chat box so that we read it out when they are done. I would read all their profiles so we know who would be speaking to us at which point in time. I'll first start off with Ethel. So we have Mrs. Ethel Obin Trevor. And Ethel is a seasoned child psychologist who has specialized in assessing and diagnosing children, creating interventions for both children and adolescents. Aside that, she also provides virtual and in-person therapy for children and young adults or young people. She goes further to collaborate with parents, with teachers, with educators, and even therapists, just so that she is able to help others foster the holistic view or holistic child development. That's not all. In addition to that, she also leads Papanto Psych organization, which is a non-governmental organization, an NGO, which is focused on the mental health assessments, education. It also provides outreach programs and trainings for professionals in child psychology and wellness. So you see why she's also here today. She also runs the Papanto Psych and Wellness Consults, and they are also geared towards giving psychological and general wellness needs. So that is Mrs. Ethel Obing Trevor, our first psychologist who will be talking to us. When we are done, that wouldn't be the end. We would also have to get to listen to Kukwa. I like calling her Cooks for short. Kukwa is a mental health advocate who is also committed to transferring her knowledge of our brain functions to improve behaviors in children and the adult population. She's studied for degrees in psychology, in neuropsychology, and cognitive neuroscience in both Ghana and the UK. She focuses her work on identifying brain patterns that affect behaviors through cognitive assessment and psychotherapy. You see how rich our people are? That is Kukwa for you. Then, when we are done, we are not actually done. But after Kukwa, we'll get to have Dr. Pierre. Dr. Christine Mabel Pierre is a clinical psychologist also with a PhD from Clark University in Massachusetts. She completed her pre- and postdoctoral training at Boston Children's Hospital, that is in Harvard Medical School, in 2014 and 2015, respectively. After which she worked as a staff psychologist, providing treatment to children and families. She is licensed and practicing in Ghana in Mission Pediatrics. Yes. So I have to mention that she's practicing in Mission Pediatrics and is the head of psychology admission specialist. She is the head of psychology admission specialist, which is the same as Mission Clinic. We have our specialist and then we have our pediatric side, all under the umbrella of Mission Clinic, which is in Kukumimli. She aims to provide and bring hope and healing to families by providing tried and tested evidence-based therapy. She's been interviewed by BBC about her research on successful parenting strategies across cultures. In her spare time, she loves to create digital art. So you can check her out on her social media handles also and other platforms which we'll be sharing with you. So as I have finished sharing the data about our psychologists, now it looks like you have the CV of our staff, which we are happy for. We wouldn't want to waste time, but we'll start off with Ethel, please. Mrs. Obenjeven, we are here. And when she is done, Kukwa would continue, followed by Dr. Pierre. The floor is all yours. And thank you for filling our pre-webinar questions. Currently, I can comfortably say that we have 42 responses in total, although we are 75. So when our post one comes, kindly ensure that you fill it for us also. And do remember that as we continue, please take notes, because during the post webinar, you would need those notes in there. Mrs. Obentreve, please, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good evening. You always make me laugh. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and good evening to everybody. So I just turn on my camera just so you can see who is speaking, and then I usually like to turn it off so we can actually focus on the slides and the conversation. And so for this evening, we are looking at emotional well-being, and I'm actually going to put it in slide mode or presentation mode. And I'd like you to confirm if you can see. Kindly do confirm for me if you can see the first slide.
Yes, please. It's
Yes.
visible.
Wonderful.
Emotional well-being.
Awesome. All right then. And so we'll just go straight into the topic of emotional well-being. The emotional roller coaster of well-being. I mean, parenting is not an easy task. And I tend to say that, I'm a storyteller. I mean that, I want to bring to bear the experiences, that we all go through as parents. And so for the first, you would find, I mean, I'm sure sometimes this is how we look like when we're going through the experience of parenting. It's not fun throughout. You have, some easy moments, some great moments, some hard moments, I mean, if I should say. And so today we'll be discussing all of this. And for the overview, we're looking at some very common, let me just move this, some very common emotional experiences in parenting. We also get to explore the impact of societal and cultural expectations on parents, and then also engage in some self-awareness exercise so we're able to identify some emotional triggers. Now, for everybody that's a parent, whether biological or not, we all have expectations. We have plans, we have dreams. And most of the time, we don't really think about the other aspects. And I think that is why this topic is very important. All the dreams that we have, all the expectations we have are high and positive and sweet and good and beautiful. But of course, there are some other aspects that sometimes, or for the most part, we don't tend to talk about until we start or until we're actually in that, journey, or probably we haven't plunged, whether it was intentional or not intentional, into the whole experience. And so I'd ask a few questions at this point. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the emotions of parenting? I would love to see what they are, and I'm sure that Ms. Ida will be able to, talk about that at a point in the conversation. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the emotions of parenting? I mean, yes or no? But when we talk of parenting, we're saying that this is a process, the process of raising a child. It means it's not a one-time event, but the moment you become a parent, whether biologically or not, it means that to a large extent, it's a lifetime experience where you're providing care, you're providing protection, you're looking at guidance to support the development of an individual. And so from infancy all the way to adulthood. That means you're looking at nurturing, which is a process. And you're looking at the physical aspects. There's a cognitive aspect, there's a social aspect, there's an emotional aspect, and of course, there's an educational aspect. So you're looking at growth in all of these facets as well. And like I mentioned from the beginning, it is not only when you're biological, as in you gave birth to that child, that you become a parent. Sometimes, whatever the reason might be, you can actually adopt. You are a parent. You might have been providing some kind of support to a child, whether as a what do we call it? Maybe in the school environment. You're looking at maybe the church environment. Sometimes you have parents of a sort, providing some support depending on what exactly might be going on in that child's life. And so parenting is definitely a process. Now, I asked a question from the beginning, and there are so many emotions that we get to experience, and it's not limited to one. So some of the very common ones we'll look at will be burnout. Then there's joy. Moments where you feel deep love, as a huge sense of pride. There's happiness because maybe you witnessed the first steps of your child. There was some shared laughter. Then there's guilt. Sometimes there's a feeling of inadequacy we feel. We're asking ourselves, are we doing the right thing? I mean, nobody has a manual necessarily, but we're doing it the best way we can. Are we doing it the right way? Are we getting it right? And most of the time, it's because we are probably comparing ourselves to others. And then, of course, there is also anxiety or the extreme worry that we might have, about a child and, whether or not what we are doing is actually the right thing as well. So there is anxiety, there's guilt, there's joy, there's also burnout. And for all of these emotions, there are others as well in there. Now, when it comes to joy, we can't be joyous all the time when it comes to parenting. It is not real. It is not true. But the joy, if we get to feel, it means that it's found in the little things. Every day, the various experiences that we get to have. It is those moments, some moments within the day, in terms of our interactions with our children, that will bring about the joy that we're talking about. And so for all of us as parents, it's just a gentle reminder to you to cherish and acknowledge those moments. It can't be joyous all the time. And so how then, or what are some of the practical ways I can do that? Well, I'd encourage you to probably write down a few things you're grateful for every single week about your parenting journey. If not, our mind is constantly going to be stayed on the negatives, the things that didn't work out, the things I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do, the things I should have said, which I wasn't able to say, all the things that we planned to get right, which we didn't. If we don't take care, we're going to be so focused on those negatives and then fail to look at the positive aspects as well. Now, whenever you're interacting with your children, I would encourage you, get down and get dirty. There is nothing wrong with that. You should be able to put your phone away sometimes. Don't just tell your child to go and play by themselves. Get down and get dirty. So find a way to fully connect with your children. And I've actually made this in red. Make time. The things that are valuable, the things that are important, what we do, we make time for those things. And so this is a way to encourage all of you as parents that we all need to make some time for our children. It means you have to be intentional because it's a process. Parenting is not something that, is a one-time event. It is a process. So even if we didn't know that before, well, we know that now. And so we'd have to be very intentional. The phone can wait. TikTok can wait. WhatsApp can wait. Put the phone down and spend just a few minutes so you can fully, not partially, connect with your child. Now, what some parents can also do, or what some parents tend to do, is they start creating some very small traditions, which I think is very helpful. So it can be every Friday we have a plan. And so it's something that we all look forward to. And what is that plan? We can have maybe games night. We can sit and watch a movie together, have a good laugh. Maybe it's just not even going to be the screen time, but just us telling stories or sharing some experiences that we might have had in the week. Cooking together. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes I've noticed that parents want to do it, like we want to do everything quickly because we say that, oh, our children will slow us down. And so when it comes to some things in the kitchen, we just want to get everything done just so we can have some free time. And so children tend to miss out on those things because we are looking at time. But we can be intentional and make some time as well for our children. So when you're even cooking, it can be that they're in the kitchen with you. You can be talking about certain things. How was your day? What did you get to do in school? What food did you enjoy? What kind of music did you listen to? And so on and so forth. There's a back and forth. And all of that helps in terms of the connection. And all of these become the joyful memories that you and your children would get to have. So definitely when it comes to the joy of parenting, these are some of the things that can be done. But there is another aspect, another emotion that can also be experienced. And I'm sure all of us at one point in time might have also gone through this, and that is guilt, the weight of guilt. And when we talk of guilt, we're looking at the emotional response that comes about when somebody feels they've done something wrong. They fail to meet either their own standards or even hurt someone else, whether it was intentional or unintentional. And usually it comes with some form of regret, there is self-blame, and then a desire to make amends. I want to do right by this person. I want to actually, change what I've been doing. So parents may feel they are not meeting their children's needs. And when I talk about children, I'm talking about all children. Children that are neurodiverse, children that some people would say probably are typical, children that have some special needs, a child on the spectrum, a child who has ADHD, a child who has a learning disability, a child who has some behavior challenges or difficulties, a child who might not be doing well, a child who might have some physical impairment. I'm talking about all children. And there's a huge weight on a lot of parents. Sometimes parents will ask themselves, what did I do wrong to deserve this? Sometimes we're not sure where to go when we see certain things about our children. And so we tend to, just internalize all of that guilt. Am I doing the right thing for my child? I don't even know where to go. There are certain expectations, probably we're not meeting them. And so it leads to a sense of what? Failure, and then also self-blame. Sometimes what parents do is we look at each other, we are looking for somebody to, because we want to make sense of certain experiences. And usually you'd find some parents looking or faulting the other. Now, there's no such thing as perfect parent. It is not true. There's no perfect parent anywhere. If you're to follow social media or probably look at social media and compare, I'm sorry, you are every day going to feel like you have failed because the pictures are telling us a particular story. And that is not true. That is not real. There's nothing like the perfect parent. There's nothing like the perfect child. Because all of these tend to create unrealistic standards. And so all of the time we're feeling disappointed, we are frustrated because those standards are not met. So on social media, what do you see? Well-shaped, nicely dressed, hair well kept, what again, seems to have everything under control and still managing that child, no matter who they are. So there's a super mom, there's a super dad, all of that as well. It is not true. Sometimes the house will look a mess and that's okay. Sometimes I'm not going to look, 100% and that's okay. Sometimes I might not feel like I've gotten it all together and that is also okay because a perfect parent does not exist. So many parents compare themselves to others, which can exacerbate feelings of guilt and inadequacy. Maybe the other parent has a help. Maybe they have a nanny. They have somebody who's taking care of the kids. Sometimes you can have more than one nanny in one home, a nanny for each child. Now, can you compare yourself to that family? No. So if you don't know what's going on in that family, never assume that whenever you meet as a group, maybe in the school setting, you're all dropping off your children, you're going to compare yourself with another parent. You don't know what their story is. And so we need to stop comparing ourselves to each other and see what we can actually do to make at least our home work the best way possible. So the other bit will then be some common reasons parents feel guilty. We've talked about some of them, the comparisons, we're feeling like we're not doing enough. And then also, how do we get to juggle school, being a parent, being a wife, and any other thing, probably being a daughter to somebody, being a sister, or maybe a brother to somebody. There's so many aspects to our lives. And so sometimes looking at how we can balance that can become like a huge chore. So all of those things can definitely lead us to feeling, some of these feelings we've talked about. And how does that tend to impact you in terms of your well-being? We're looking at high levels of parental guilt, which is associated with the stress, heightened anxiety, and then also depression. Now, depression and anxiety are like cousins. Whenever you find anxiety, there's a likelihood that you might find depression over time. And this guilt can then undermine your own confidence in your abilities as a parent. You question yourself. And that also makes it harder to make decisions or even enjoy the parenting journey. Now, parenting is a lifetime. Until you're gone, it does not end. I've seen parents as old as 80 who treat their 50-year-olds or probably 30-year-olds as children. They still see them in that light. that tells you that it never stops. And so as a parent, you need to learn to enjoy some of the moments. Now, when we feel these feelings, it can then impact our relationship with our children. The same people we're looking at helping and supporting and, raising for the next generation. And so it leads to conflicts and then also reduced emotional closeness. So at this point, I would want you to meet anxiety. Now, the orange image you see is anxiety. I want you to remember that anxiety is unpleasant, but it is not negative. It's not a bad thing. Anxiety basically is trying to help you, not hurt you. I don't know whether any of you believe that, but I'll just break that down. Anxiety is important to all of us because it's a vital emotion. We need it so that we can actually get certain things done. The only time it's damaging is when it tends to take over all of your systems. But it can keep you safe. It can keep you healthy. It can become that push you need to get certain things done. So it is not a bad thing, but it is unpleasant. So when it comes to anxiety, please remember that whenever you're feeling that feeling, it is essential. And I'd want you to interpret it in a different way whenever you're experiencing that. And so once you're feeling those feelings, probably having some anxiety, remember that probably is activating you to get certain things done, to push you to do certain things, to get you to question certain things. But it is not a bad thing. So why do we sometimes feel anxious? What is it about anxiety that can make us feel the way we're feeling? Well, because we're afraid of making the wrong choices. We worry about our child's future. So let's say you have a child who has some intellectual difficulties, maybe some learning disability, whatever the concerns are, maybe they have cerebral palsy. Most parents in that regard would feel or have some anxiety because you're worried about how people are going to treat your child when you're not here. Where can I get the support I need, to support my child? So we tend to worry. And so there are a number of things that can be done to manage that anxiety. And there are a number of symptoms I would want you to look out for when it comes to anxiety. So if it comes to management, we're looking at mindfulness and some stress reduction techniques. And then also speaking with other parents. Once you speak with them, you realize, okay, although I don't feel that great in this space, at least this person has been here before. And from what I see, it means things are going to be okay. It doesn't mean that that is all there is. So it's always good to have some kind of support, at least, on this journey. Then there's burnout, a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. And that is caused by prolonged stress and then overwork. And most of the time, it's because of the demands that exceeds my ability to cope. So then I feel overwhelmed, I feel detached, and then there's also reduced effectiveness. Now, when it comes to burnout, I think we don't talk about that a lot, but it's something that is happening and it's something that is real. For all of us as parents, there are times you might actually feel this, especially when we want to be the perfect parent. Growing up, I think that females especially have been groomed to become wives and parents. And so there are certain things in all of us, we're trying to meet all those things that we were told, whether it was intentional or unintentional, whether it was verbal or nonverbal, something was communicated. And so in our minds, we want to meet or probably at least be close to that picture that was painted. So for most of the time, we try to do everything. Even when we feel we cannot go on any longer, we're still trying so hard. Because, just stopping and saying I can't do it would mean that I failed. I am not a good parent. I am not a good mother, for the most part. I intentionally brought a male here because men also do feel that as well. But for the most part, and especially in our society, a lot of the time, there's a high expectation when it comes to females. And so, for the most part, you're trying to juggle being a mother, trying to be perfect at the workplace, 100%. It's like you have to give it your all because even then, there are some expectations, some comments that might come from some people in the workspace to show that, oh, we said it. Is she not a woman? There are certain things that are said. And so all these things we want to challenge what has been said as much as possible. And so we try, even when we cannot. Now, when you do that and try to be that super parent, please remember that you're going to feel overwhelmed. And in the end, you would be detached. And there's also going to be a reduced effectiveness of what you intended to do from the beginning. And so all I'm saying is that you need to learn to prioritize as much as possible. So these are some of the very common signs you would find when it comes to burnout. There's a physical aspect, there's a behavioral aspect, and then also the emotional aspect. So just touching on those a little bit, when it comes to the physical aspect, what would you see? As much as possible, would say that for the physical, there are certain symptoms that you would find. And then, of course, there's a behavioral aspect, which is what a lot of the time you would see. And then the emotional aspect will be where you're feeling very drained. We're looking at maybe some things in regards to, how we are feeling, at a point in time. And so physical aspects, maybe we're feeling exhausted. Maybe we're having, what do you call it? Certain challenges or difficulties when it comes to, our physical. And so then, of course, there's a behavioral aspect that would be more of what you would see in that individual. So there's maybe some restlessness, some irritability. There's a bit about probably not wanting to get things done anymore. There's no energy, to get things done. And of course, there's an emotional aspect as well. Now, these are all very important and you need to take care of. And I think when it gets to this part, it's important to actually reach out, probably speak with a professional and see how you can, look at things differently and maybe make a few tweaks and changes when it comes to your lifestyle, because that is very important. So the other bit, so emotional will be maybe feeling disconnected. There's also decreased, chronic fatigue, maybe some exhaustion that could come in. That's when it comes to physical symptoms. You're looking at some body aches and pains. There's a constant complaint when it comes to headaches, body aches, changes when it comes to your appetite. You're not eating well or probably eating too much. Your sleeping patterns might have changed. And then there's lowered immunity. So with that one, you might probably be getting a lot of, colds and infections. Sometimes for some individuals, it can also become some gastrointestinal issues, stomach pain, nausea, all of that as well. So please take note of these and not make light of the situation. Then what can I do as much as possible to prevent it? Now, in terms of that, it means you have to learn to prioritize self-care, get enough rest, try to sleep when you can, be mindful of the foods you're eating as well, make sure that they are nutritious, and then also learn to stay hydrated. Engage in some regular physical activity, even if it's a short walk, and set realistic expectations. Please accept that it's not everything you can do. I refuse to be a super mom. That is me. That is my mantra. I cannot do certain things. I have to listen to myself. So accept that you cannot do everything perfectly and be okay with asking for help. We don't do that. We need to learn to do that and let go of any guilt when you are taking those breaks. It's okay to take a break. You don't have to be a parent to show that, yes, I'm perfect. It's okay sometimes to just ship everybody off to grandma's and ship off to maybe an aunt's and just so you can take a break, whether it's you and your partner or probably, with a few friends as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a bad parent. So delegate and share responsibilities as well. Involve your partner. Please tell your husband, tell your wife, look, I can't do this one. Please help out. Family members, any other person that can help. And if possible, seek support from a babysitter, maybe a daycare, or even friends. Then the other will be to schedule some time for yourself. What are some of the things you've been doing that you put a stop to? Reading, what hobbies do you have? Have you sheltered all those things just because you want to be the perfect parent? Sometimes all you need is some quiet moments just so you can pause, think, reflect, energize or re-energize, and then get back into the parenting bit. It is all okay. Occasionally plan some outings or have some alone moments, even if it's just a few minutes of breathing or deep breathing, and they stay connected with your support group. So who is your support group? Who are the people in your life, that you can actually reach out to and have a chit chat and talk about certain things, or maybe even ask a few tips here and there in terms of what it is you're doing, because other people have done it before you, and they may be able to probably give you some answers to some of the questions that you have. Please Motherhood or parenting doesn't mean breaking off friendships. Maintain some friendships, join some parenting groups, practice mindfulness and stress management techniques. It is all important. Then, of course, for the societal part, we have talked about. So I'm just about wrapping up so my colleague can take over. The pressure to be a perfect parent, because it is not true. Any cultural norms have been passed on. Please refuse to be part of that. Do the best you can as a parent, but you don't have to kill yourself doing it. If you can't also pour from an empty cup, if you're not giving the best to yourself, you can't give anything to your family and then also to your children. So break free from these unrealistic standards and define success on your own terms. Don't be pushed by what is happening on social media. Focus on what works for your family. Every family has a culture. What is yours? What is your tradition? Create it. And be careful out there in terms of the information that you expose yourself to. So there are some self-awareness exercises. And supposing that at this point in time, I just want you to all reflect as parents what your experience is. Think of a recent moment when you felt stressed, overwhelmed as a parent. What happened? What were you doing at the time? How did you feel in that moment? And how did you react in that moment? Now, let's just say that maybe it was your child who was throwing a tantrum, but you were trying to finish some work and you have some deadline to meet. Definitely, I'm sure you feel frustrated and maybe impatient. Now, identify that trigger. Was it external? Was it your child's behavior? Is it because of the work pressure? Is it noise? Is it because of the lack of time? Now, if it's internal, was it maybe self-doubt? Was it fear of being a bad parent? Is it a past experience of feeling unheard, overwhelmed? So if you realize that the frustration is coming from both the immediate chaos from your child and your own internal pressure, please take a deep breath and reframe. What can I do differently? Can I shift my perspective or even adjust my response? So instead of you overreacting, maybe you can take a deep breath and remind yourself that the tantrum your child is throwing at this point in time is a normal part of their development. You might step away for a moment to calm yourself down, and then can also use a soothing voice to help your child regulate their emotions. Then you can focus on the work at hand. So at this point, I would like to say this, that parenting brings about a wide range of emotions. They are all normal. And managing these emotions can help you become a more present and resilient parent. Self-awareness is key to emotional well-being. I want to cheer you on and say that you're doing better than you think, and take a moment each day to check in on your emotions. Now, this image is for all of us parents that remember, this is how it feels like. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and you're doing great. So long as you've become a parent, please, you are in for the ride, so enjoy the ride. Thank you very much. And I'll shift from mine so that Miss Kukwa can take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Ethel. Share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll turn off my video so that our sign interpreter can have the video. I'll continue quickly with practical strategies for prioritizing self-care. So let's start with a simple definition of self-care. To simply put, self-care is any consistent effort you make to improve your general well-being. So self-care can be in the form of relaxation or saying no sometimes, or just drinking enough water during the day. And so we say that you can say that self-care is any consistent activity that ensures that you show up 100% with 100% energy in all areas of your life. So now that we have a working definition of what self-care is, I would like for us to do a little exercise to know if we have prioritized our self-care today. So in just 2 seconds, if you can pick up a pen, a notepad, or on your phone, or even in the comment section, so that we can make this very interactive. We want to rate our current mood from 1 to 5, 1 being very low and 5 being very high. I would ask a few questions, and in the comment section, you can mark yourself 1, 2, 3, or 5, so that we know if you're prioritizing your self-care or you may need some therapy. So our first question, how energized do you feel today? So I'd like to see some reactions in the comment section so that I continue. Second question, how calm or relaxed do you feel? On a scale of 1 to 5, how positive or hopeful do you feel today? Our next question, how connected do you feel to others? So it can be your church friends, it can be work colleagues, it can be family members. How connected do you feel to others on a scale of 1 to 5? And then lastly, how confident do you feel in managing your daily tasks? So I give a few minutes and then we score ourselves. So it's a self-assessment. And if you did score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll do the scoring in a few minutes. Okay, so if you scored a lot of 4 and 5 on most of the questions, you are doing really good. You are doing a good job, and please continue practicing your self-care to maintain your well-being. And if you scored 2, 3, 2, 3 on most of the questions, you may benefit from some self-care practices to boost your energy, your mood, and your mindset. But then if you scored 1 on multiple questions, so on most of the questions, if you scored 1, then you may want to consider taking time off immediately to focus on your self-care. And you may also want to consider some psychotherapy as well to address any areas of possible stress or burnout. So we'll come back to this slide. If you didn't have the opportunity to answer the question, we'll come back to it. So let's move on to why is self-care essential? So the myth is that anybody who engages in self-care is being selfish, and usually as parents, we are guilt-tripped to believe that if you engage in self-care practices, you are being irresponsible, or you are being made to feel like you are neglecting your responsibilities to have time for yourself. But that is not true. The fact actually is, when you engage in self-care practices, you actually prevent burnout at work, you prevent stress. And recently we have learned that consistent self-care practices reduces the chances of stroke and high blood pressure, especially in men. Another fact is that it helps to reconnect with yourself. So imagine you have 15 to 20 minutes to yourself every day to reflect on your day. You are able to revise your goals, your needs, to realign with your values, which is a positive thing. It also enhances our relationships with others, and it boosts our emotional resilience. So if you're able to have consistent self-care routines or practices, you are able to put your best foot forward all the time. You are able to navigate challenging emotions and address them in a better way. So let's move on to types of self-care. For the purpose of this presentation, we will talk about 5 types. So there's a physical self-care, which includes your good sleeping patterns, includes exercising, and it includes eating well. I was at a conference the other day, and the physician specialist was talking about regular health checkups, where most men these days are checking their prostates than women checking their reproductive health. So it means that for this year, you can, the mothers on this call today, we can make it a resolution to at least twice this year visit our gynecologist for our self-care, for regular health checkups. Our next type of self-care is emotional self-care. This one will include accepting to go for therapy when you feel overwhelmed or too stressed, journaling our feelings, stress management, and coping skills. And then we have social care, which includes our support system, friendships, keeping our friendships, and setting boundaries, which my colleague earlier explained. We also have spiritual self-care, which includes gratitude, meditation, and other activities like volunteering that can promote inner peace. The last type of self-care is mental self-care, which includes reading, learning a new skill like swimming or learning a new language, or engaging in hobbies like planting or gardening. We will come back to this slide to explain the examples in details. Before then, I would like for us to take a minute to reflect and type in the comment section what area of self-care we feel we are neglecting in our lives that we want to improve. So we have talked about several types of self-care, and in a minute, think about what area in your life you feel you are neglecting. For me personally, I think it's friendships. So you can quickly type in the comment section what area of self-care you think you're neglecting in your life that you would want to improve. Okay. I'd like to see more engagement in the comment section, and then I continue. Okay. So I'll continue with sustainable self-care practices for busy parents. Self-care for busy parents can be very challenging because we are juggling so many things, feeling overwhelmed all the time. But then it is important to have some strategies that can fit into our busy schedules as well. So I have put together some simple strategies that we can fit into our busy schedules. So the first one is setting boundaries. And one practical example for setting boundaries is setting a time to go off your phone. After work, when you get home, say 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, you decide not to go on your WhatsApp or answer any work calls. What will happen is that you are able to zone out of work mode and zone into parent or partner mode, and then you offer your best to your family. So that's one, that's the first practical strategy we can all try this week. So by 6 or 7, you're not answering work calls, you're not going on WhatsApp to answer work calls. The next one is connecting with other parents. So parenting can feel very isolating, especially in the early years, or, well, sometimes all throughout. It can feel very, very isolating. And what I found to be helpful is to find other parent friends, make other parent friends who you can vent to, you can share experiences, and then get advice from. What will happen here is that it will help you to combat the feelings of loneliness that comes along with parenting. The next practical self-care strategy is taking frequent breaks for yourself. So if you are a working parent and you're at work and you are overwhelmed because you are thinking about the children's African Day coming up, you are thinking about the meals, you are thinking about your boss needing the reports, you are thinking about all of that. Try to take frequent breaks. Even if it's every 15 minutes, you go upstairs and come back downstairs. Every 15 minutes, you go to the parking lot and walk back. Just change of scenery and breathing in good air is a good form of self-care. The next one is sharing parenting responsibilities. And I bulleted this point this way because it's very important. And some parents would usually ask how to do it because there are different cultures and different ways families, how do I put it? Different ways people raise their children in their houses. But then this point is very important because if you're able to share parenting responsibilities, you're able to free yourself up and recharge, because that's what you need. That's what self-care is all about, being able to take some time off for yourself to recharge and give your best. So how do we share parenting responsibilities? First of all, communicate with your partner. If you're fortunate enough to have other family members around, like your siblings or grandparents, communicate with them and delegate responsibilities to family members. The next one, if you are not fortunate enough to have family members around, you can pay for the social support. There's nothing wrong. There really is nothing wrong with paying for a woman to come and make all your soups and stews in the freezer for the week. There's also no need to feel guilty when someone is coming to do the laundry or sweeping the house once a week. All you need is time for yourself sometimes so that you don't burn out or feel stressed. So it's okay to pay for social support. And the third point is asking for help for shorter periods. So if it's the case that you're not able to have family members around for longer periods, you can have a niece or nephew come around after school to maybe sweep your compound or take care of the toddler. You can find ways to have people come in 30 minutes or for shorter periods instead of longer days and weeks. The next point is create a nighttime routine for yourself. Most parents have nighttime routines for their children, but not for themselves. So after the children go to bed, what you can do this week is to take 10 to 15 minutes to yourself. Go to your room, any room you have available. You can turn off the lights. If you can dim them, the better. But if you can't, you can turn them off altogether. Sit in a very comfortable position and just breathe. Breathe. Stretch your legs, stretch your arms, stretch your whole body, or engage in any calming activity, any activity you find calming, but relax. And what will happen is that if you're consistent with this routine for yourself, you are able to decompress after your daily routine, and you're able to prepare yourself, your mind, your body for a restful night. The next point is practicing gratitude. So this point sounds, it looks ordinary, but then what happens when we are grateful for little things is that it helps you to shift your mindset from all the overwhelming activities happening around you. So you are stressed because you're not getting work done. You are stressed because your kids need a list of things that you haven't gotten done for the week. But then if you're able to sit and just say thank you for the tiniest of things, it really helps your brain. Let me put. So this week, what I want to urge all of us to do is, after the kids go to bed and you're having that 10 to 15 minutes to yourself, take a pen, a paper, or even in your head, just write down 3 things you are grateful for. So it can be the little of things, like the tiniest things, such as, oh God, thank you for a successful school rounds today, or I got to work 5 minutes earlier than I usually do. It can be little things like that, and you'll be amazed at how your brain will take it. Our next point is eat well, engage in a lot of physical activity, and sleep. This is very important because eating well, you get energized when you sleep well, when you eat well. So instead of cutting up the fruits for the children alone, maybe add one more bowl and then cut some fruits for yourself and then have some healthy snacks instead of the plantain chips. And another easy thing to do, another easy self-care practice to engage in is staying hydrated throughout the day. Most of us do not drink enough water throughout the day. So you can make it a thing for you this week to drink enough water instead of the juice and the carbonated drinks. And physical activity. I personally will always say that I'll sign up for the gym and never do. So I'm sure that there are a lot more parents on here who would say I would start the gym this year, but never do. And what I found to help is dancing. So you can join your Hallelujah Challenge or whichever music you enjoy. Just dance your heart out, dance around the house. You can dance with the kids, they will love it, they'll give you fans. Dance. And what happens is that as you're dancing, you're smiling, you're laughing, and it's releasing pent-up tension and it's boosting your mood as well. And you're able to give your best to your children and your partner and your household. And lastly, prioritize sleep. So whenever our laptops freeze or our phones or our gadgets freeze or something, you call your brother or you call your IT person, and the first thing they say is, oh, Dominica Krana signs up, or turn it off a bit and turn it back on. And then surprisingly it works. But then when it comes to us human beings, when you say we should sleep, some people say sleep is for the weak. Sleep is not for the weak. That's not how the brain works. The brain always needs to calm down and then recharge and re-energize. So please prioritize your sleep. Sleep more, and it's sure to, you are sure to have to be energized and have more patience for yourself and for your kids as well. So our last exercise before I finish is, from all the strategies we've had in the past couple of minutes, what small manageable self-care routine would you add to your routine this week? I would like to see some answers some engagement in the comment section. What small manageable self-care routine do you want to add to your routine this week? So this is my self-care, this is my template, this is my bucket list. You can steal some answers from me, but personally, when you introspect, what self-care, what small self-care routine would you like to add to your routine this week? This is my little template. Asking for help, spending some time alone, trying to put myself first, asking for what I need, setting boundaries at work, at home, staying at home, learning to say no so that I don't feel overwhelmed, forgiving myself for things that I wasn't able to do, and then taking a step back from some things as well. So I'd like to see your self-care. I'd like to see your self-care routine in that you add this week. Okay. So if there's still anyone on here who feels like the self-care is still being selfish, I want to say to them before I conclude that you are worthy of taking breaks when you are overwhelmed. And this is something I say to myself every time when I'm being guilt-tripped to feel like I'm neglecting my responsibilities. I say to myself, I am worthy of taking breaks when I feel overwhelmed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kukua. And thank you, Ethel, from before. So many really helpful tips. I think I'm really inspired by the dancing. I think I have to pick up dancing again. I used to dance and I stopped, but I shall resume. Okay, so I'm going to share my slides. And then
we will finish up. So as Kukwa said, please remember you are important. The whole reason we're focusing on emotional well-being is that you need to be able to be calm and relaxed in order to even parent well. And at the end of the day, our children will leave home, and once they leave, we'll be left with our lives. So in a way, we have to balance everything that we're doing so that we still live fulfilling lives and we still take care of ourselves. So the last 15 minutes, I'm going to focus on the home, the house environment, and how to create an emotionally healthy home environment. Okay, so let's start with the why. The power of a healthy home. Having a healthy home is not just because we are feeling selfish or we are being frou-frou. It is really important. One, it lowers stress, not just for you as a parent, but also for your children. The research shows that if you have a home that is structured, that is predictable, it's emotionally stable, your anxiety will automatically go down. Because home is supposed to be the safe space. It's supposed to be where you come after work from all the stress and you wind down. And the truth is, as parents, we come from work and then we just come to more work because there's children to take care of. We love them, but they are work. But there are ways in which to structure our home so that it's less stressful. Research also shows that it leads to increased confidence, your own confidence as a parent. Ethel talked about guilt. Once you have a healthy home environment, you start to see patterns more. You feel more confident in your ability to guide your children. They become more responsible, more self-motivated. Everybody is more emotionally regulated. And for your children, their academic success is likely to increase. So, what are the ingredients for a healthy home environment? All the research boils down to three key things that if you have it in your mind and day to day as you're parenting, you think about, do I have this down? Am I handling this? You will become a more calm, a more relaxed parent, a better parent. The three things are the rules and routines. So that's the structure in the house. And I'll talk a little bit later about what exactly that means. Number two is the love and connection. Is the foundation for healthy relationships, is the foundation for a healthy home. And then the third one, it's quite tricky because culturally it changes, but perspective taking. So being able to see things from your child's perspective, from a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 17-year-old's perspective, it will help you now calm down because you remember that, this person, after all, is a child. And some of the things that I get so angry and irritated about is not surprising because from a child's perspective, these are some of the things that they would do. So let's go through the three. The first one is the rules and routine, which I'm calling structure. Now, I want everyone to really think about your home right now. Is your home structure intentional? Have you sat down and thought about how you want the day-to-day, how you want it to go in your home, the rules that you want to have, the consequences if, they break the rules? Is it intentional or is it reactionary? A lot of times for us, it's reactionary. We haven't really thought about it, even though they've done it more than once. In the moment when they do it, depending on how calm or irritated you are, we react, right? So these days I hear a lot about device use, and the parents will get so upset. How dare he or how dare she go and try and steal the tablet or try and watch TV when I told him not to? And then they'll give some extreme consequence. No devices for 2 years. It's obviously coming from emotion. But if you sit, and that in itself will stress you. But if you sit back with your partner, whoever the adults are in the house,
And be intentional about your home and the rules that you want to have. So have clear rules in the house. Some of us want to have rules about how we talk to each other, right? If you want to have rules about we are not rude in this house, we use good manners, we are polite, we are kind to each other, make the rule. And ideally, make it visual for the children and for yourself so that it's not an argument, it's not a back and forth. It's clear that these are the rules. If you need rules around screen time, decide and make it visible. If you need rules around wake up time, bedtime, chores, have some intentionality around it and make the rule. Now, you want your routine to be consistent, the daily routine. If you think about it, we're doing the same thing every day, and we're having stress and disagreements about the same things every day. So, morning time, every day we wake up, we bath, we dress, ideally, we have breakfast, and then we go to work and school. Is there stress around that area? Think about it. What can we fix? Is there a wake up time that we need to set? Do we need to set a timer for how long everything takes? Do we need to have some kind of consequence if they are too late to getting out of the house? So now we are late for school. They come back home from school, there's study time or there's homework time. And then on the weekends, there's screen time, and then there's bedtime. So think about your daily routine and come up with how consistent you want it to be. Again, I always advocate for something visible so that for the children, they can see it and they can tick it off. Some families have even said, you know, in the morning, if you want it to be relaxing, have some music. Maybe it's gospel music or instrumentals, but that will be your timer. By the time Joe Metal's song has ended, you know that I need to be out for breakfast. So have the routines and then have predictable consequences. Honestly, there are a limited number of consequences we as parents can use. If they didn't do their chores, maybe no screen time till the chores are done. If they are making a mess, ultimately is that they have to clean it up. If something broke, then they're helping to fix it in some way. Or you're taking money that you would have spent on snack or going out or going to a fun place and saying that money is going to the thing that you broke, so we can't go. Are they misusing devices? Then you withdraw the privileges. Are they late for something? Then that extra time that they used, you are taking that time off a fun activity. So again, have a sit down and think through predictable consequences and have it all laid out so that you yourself as a parent are not stressed. The second key ingredient was the connection, so the warmth and the love. Now here, let's think about how did our parents show love? You know, I was thinking about it, and you know, these days we say, oh, I love you, and I thought, I'm gone. I couldn't even figure out how a parent would say, I love you in Ga. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's just the older generation. Maybe as Ghanaians, we don't really always do the soft, you know, things. But think about how did your parents show love? Is that affecting how you show love? And then also think, how does your child receive and show love as well? We all have love languages, right? For some of us, it's service. We'll do everything for them. You know, make sure the food is ready, make sure they have good clothes. But are they hearing and seeing the love? Some of our children, they're tactile, right? What they want is a long hug where you just hold me and squeeze me and hug me tight for 3 minutes, and I know you love me. And all the food that you've cooked, I'm not seeing it as love. So start to think about how does your child see love, and how do you yourself see it? Maybe for you, it's affirmations, right? And so there's a way in which you can tell them that, hey, as for mommy or as for daddy, me, I like it when you guys compliment me or tell me that you like the food and encourage that communication around how we show each other love. Now, a big issue is the time. When are we going to find the time to spend and connect? Find it in the nooks and crannies of the day. Maybe it's the ride to school. Maybe instead of sitting in the front, you sit at the back, or instead of just focusing on driving and getting there, you're asking them, okay, so how do you think your day is going to go today? What do you have at school? Starting those conversations. Family game night, whether it's Ludo or Ware, whatever you're doing, games have a way of really stimulating the connection. So that instead of everybody being either on their phone or in their bedroom, something that draws the family together so that they can spend time together. Because the more we spend time and we show each other love and warmth, the easier it is to, one, go through the disagreements and the conflicts. Our children are more likely to listen to us because they feel that connection, they feel the love, they don't want to disappoint their parents. And the better we will feel. So some of the self-care that Kukwa talked about, we can have that within the family. We can have laughter and we can have joy. But intentionality is so important because it doesn't just happen naturally. Sometimes we have to make these things happen. We have to plan them. We can do joint meal times or around bedtime. Maybe it's just a bedtime story, or you can have a fun activity where you're making up the story and everybody makes their sankwas parts of the story and it becomes ridiculous, but everybody's laughing. Find ways to use all these little times to build the relationship with your child. Now, in terms of connecting conversations, I talked about the I love you and the expressing affection. Please, let's do it. Why? Our children need the love and we need the love too. We need to hear that they appreciate us and they love us, especially with all the work we are doing. The way to get that is to give it. So if you're not used to saying, oh, I love you, there are other ways. So for instance, you can say, oh, I was thinking about the other day, when you did the dishes, nobody asked you to, Charlie, I was feeling you. And then you start that culture of positivity and giving each other compliments. Try active listening without judgment. Our children learn by modeling, right? So if we are able to give it, they learn to give it back. Share stories. Share stories of times when you were younger, when you did silly things. You don't have to look perfect as a parent, as a mom or dad. There'll be laughter, and then they'll be more open to sharing with you as well. And validate the emotions. We all need the validation. And like I said before, if we give it, we're more likely to get it. So these are some ways you can create a warm, loving environment in the home. And then the last one, this is for ourselves, our own, mental, cognitive mind frame, is the perspective taking. These are children. They will do things that you be like, what is wrong with this child? Right? It's frustrating, but remember that their brain is not fully developed. So please, parents, have patience. It will help you yourself to feel better. And then in communicating with them, so that you can avoid some of the tantrums. It's amazing. I've seen some tantrums just die down with the parents being able to acknowledge, like, I know you really want the toy. Or I know you really want that lollipop, even though it's 11 p.m. I know it's frustrating. Validate that emotion before you set in the rule and say, but my job is to keep you safe. We're going to do it differently. We're going to have that lollipop tomorrow. But just start with the perspective taking, and it will make a world of difference. So that was a quick run through of some of the ways in which you can set up the home environment with structure, with warmth and love, with perspective taking, so that everybody is calmer and more relaxed. So at this point, I will open it up for questions. And these can be questions for all of us. So all three of us that presented. If you have questions about self-care, if you have questions about guilt as a parent, questions about establishing a home structure, this will be the time You can either raise up your hand or type it in the chat, and we'll do our best to help.
Wow. I can't thank all of you enough. We are grateful and we appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you, psychology department. Please, wouldn't you want to say a big thank you to them? You can use the emojis, show some love to them. We just learned something. We should share the love, help them get to understand. Yes, thank you for showing the love. Please, you can do better. The others who are not showing love. So this is all for psychology. Thumbs up to you. We are grateful for everything you've shared this evening. The whole team, from Ethel to Cooks to Dr. Pierre. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you all. And you can imagine the number of people who are showing appreciation for everything, right down from Ethel's presentation to Kukwa, then to Dr. Pierre's final one, both on YouTube and on this channel. So yes, just as Dr. Pierre meant, if you have any questions, comments, whatsoever, please write them in the chat box, and then we'll read it out. We'll get your answers for you. So I'll just start off by saying that, can we have our post-webinar poll shown, so that as people go on to give us the answers of what they've learned, we can add up by reading the small comments we've received so far. Some were asking if it will be possible for them to get the slides. As usual, we have all our presentations on our social media handles, and you have access to them at any point in time. Kindly go to Parents Roundtable on YouTube. The link has been shared. It's there. You can have previous ones, you can have current ones, and then ongoing. The ones that we'll be having throughout the year is also there. So please do get on our media handles. Facebook, we are there as Mission Pediatrics. You can have everything. Our polls are there. Please start filling them for us. Help us get to learn and improve on ourselves. Help us get to help others also. I can see Prince Salom's hand up. You would be called. Give us a minute. I think I wanted to respond to the questions of whether we can have the slides. I think I've answered that. And yes, lots of people are saying thank you. So I'm reading from YouTube first. Elikem Beauty is saying, God bless the team. Abigail says the same. It was educative. Eunice, the love is being shown. Thank you for showing us the love. Keep sharing, keep helping others also learn. And then when we come to our page here on Zoom, we have people also putting up the comments and then the questions and then the concerns. I hope people are feeling. So far, it's just 2 people who have participated. Why? Meanwhile, I can see over 91 people here. Please fill the poll for us. Help us. We are leaving it on for some time. You can answer, you can type in, you can do all that. So I'm keeping quiet for some few minutes, then I'll come back. Okay, I think I've kept quiet for too long. Now I can go on. So yes, your comments, your questions, your concerns. I saw Prince's hand up. Prince Salom, are you ready to ask your question or make your contribution? As you keep filling the pool for us. Please go on.
Hi, Ida. Good evening.
Good evening.
Right. So, mine isn't a question. I think um, our personalities have done justice to all our questions. Rather, what I'd want to suggest is if we could have some short podcasts, which will come up maybe once a week, going out to parents just to help them manage some stress or burnout, just as it comes. Maybe it could be a reminder podcast or just an educative one, because sometimes you might not really get a chance to go through the YouTube channels, but the podcast will just keep you on the edge. Maybe a Sunday evening podcast to run us through the week would just be a good one to take us through. So it just came to mind, and I needed to share that. Thank you.
Okay, Prince, thank you for that suggestion. So we would note it down, the team would discuss, and then we would let you have feedback. Thank you for that suggestion. It's a good one. Please, any other comments, concerns? Today, you've had the whole team of psychology here. Whatever you have, please share with them. Let them help you. Free consult, as I always say. As you keep filling the form too, let's increase the participation because I currently see 19%, but 20. Keep going. Thank you. So let me check our YouTube page and see if people have put something there. Okay. Okay. So from Abigail, from Eunice, from Mavis, Diane, Rex, Ruth, Sylvia, everyone is saying thank you to the team and they appreciate everything that we are doing for them. We are grateful. Yes, Cletus, your hand is up. Kindly unmute and let us know what you have in mind. Cletus, if you are speaking, we can't hear you, please. Dr. Pierre, are you the one whose hand is up or it's Godfrey?
It is. It's me. I noticed the question in the chat as well. So maybe after Cletus, we can
Okay.
address that one.
Okay. Cletus, then kindly go on. When you are done,
Oh, actually, I think it's the same person.
oh, okay. Unfortunately,
So,
okay. Then, Dr. Pierre, please, your team can go on.
okay, so I can start and then Ethel and Kuko, if you'd like to add on. Cletus' question was about building effective parenting when you don't live with your family. So, for instance, living in a foreign country while the family is in Ghana. And unfortunately, it's not uncommon. You know, sometimes our work will take us away from our family, and we have to find ways to maintain the relationship. And I think what I'll say is relationships don't have to be face to face at all, right? There are so many ways to build the connection just by hearing them and seeing them. And thanks to technology, there are ways to do that. But it's important to be consistent, right? So that the children or the partner knows that daddy or mommy is going to call like every other day or every Friday or in the evenings, because that consistency adds a sense of safety. They know that you're reliable, you're dependable, and that builds the connection as well. And then in those conversations, it's difficult because when you're not living with someone, sometimes you find that the conversation is, okay, so how was your day? It was fine. And then there's silence. And so there's key to talking about the little mundane things, You know, don't underestimate the value of saying, oh, today I was stuck in traffic, or it's snowing and it's so cold, or, you know, I got a bit annoyed at work, but I'm okay. Just to help the family remember your humanity. And then they will feel more open to just share the little small things that happens in their life as well. So that's what I'll say.
Great. Please, any other comments from either Ethel or Kukwa? Anyone would like to share, or can I go on?
Dr. Pierre has said it all for me.
Okay.
I would
Ethel.
say the same. I would say the same thing. I think it's
Oh,
everything Dr. K said.
okay.
Yes.
And now I'll be rotating. I'll be calling names. All right. So Nidra made me laugh as I was reading her comment in my head. She was saying that the presentations were fantastic and that we also have very soothing and reassuring voices as therapists. Thank you, Nidra. We appreciate. And Bernard also was saying or showing appreciation for everything. Hey, he's given us an award, the best healthcare. Thank you. We appreciate it. And yes, Nadia also shows appreciation. Hey, thank you. So Ampofu says many couples face emotional challenges of trying to conceive without success. What advice or words of encouragement do you, I'm sorry, it skipped. What advice or words of encouragement do you have for those who are navigating this difficult journey? So any
Let's
advice
go.
for,
Let's
okay,
go.
thank you for muting. Okay, so who would like to set the ball rolling? Dr. Pierre, is your hand up now or it's the previous one?
It's from before, but I can start. Unless the others want to.
Should I call names? They want me to call names. I'll bring
Yes,
in.
call names. I'm here.
Okay, Ethel. Please go on.
All right. So when it comes to, the whole fertility journey, it's a process. And it can be a tough one to navigate because of our environment, culture. People wanting to poke their nose in things. We don't know when to mind our business, the boundaries, everybody telling you what to do, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of pressure there. I think the most important thing would be the communication between the couple involved, and then also exploring a number of things together. That is really important. So how effective is the communication between the two of you? How vulnerable are you to each other in terms of how you're feeling, the difficulties, what are you experiencing, and not making assumptions for the other partner. At times people tend to blame the female. We would think that, oh, it's, once it's not happening, then it's a woman's fault, and all of that. But the vulnerability would also mean that, both would work together. If we need to probably do some checks, it's myself, it's the partner, to do this together. At times there might be a need to maybe even go for an anonymous donor. I mean, how do we feel about that? Have we thought about the possibility of multiple, so you're probably trying IVF? And it's a huge investment as well, I would not lie, because the body goes through a lot of prodding and prying. And then at the same time as well, for the two of them, there's money involved. It doesn't come cheap either. And so it can be a tough one, but I think that because if we have both people, working together on it, it's easier. So I'm hoping that they would start with some communication and then also speak with the right professionals so they can guide them. One tough thing I tend to say is this, that when it comes to, the whole fertility journey, it might not be everybody who might have what it is they want because it's a success rate. For some, it's successful, for some, it's not. How many times you want to try and see which would work? And at a point, have you explored other options? Adoption, for example, and all that. So these are conversations both of them need to have, and they can explore that with, a professional. That would mean also having a psychologist as part of the team to ensure that they exhaust every option, and then that would give them at least their peace in terms of the journey as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Anyone wants to add up, please, before I go on? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to, I think Ethel said it all, and I'll just add that there is the risk of falling apart as you're going through these struggles, and that the open communication and the going through the stress together with your partner can in some ways make your relationship even stronger, right? So it doesn't exactly address the challenge of trying to conceive, but be intentional about not letting that struggle break you apart, because you're both struggling in it. So that open communication about the disappointment you feel, the frustration, the hope, keep that up to help the relationship sustain.
Okay, thank you. So for those who haven't filled our polls, I am pleading, kindly fill it for us. Thank you. There's a question. Okay, there are questions on our YouTube page, so I'm gonna go there now. Oh, Tina, hi. Ruth is saying that how can I be measuring with my wards when they feel left out because I have a newborn? So she has a newborn baby. How can she assist? I'm thinking. Anyone wants to tell us something?
Ada, call names.
I should go.
Help us.
Can you read the question again? Can you read the question
The
again?
the
Okay.
question wasn't clear. The latter part of it.
So the latter part is actually saying that she has a newborn baby. She has a newborn. Okay, we don't want to forcefully mute everyone, so please help us. So we don't forcefully mute you. iPhone. Okay, let me say it again. So she has a newborn and the other kids are feeling left out. So she wants to know what she can do to help the newborn. Ruth, if that's not your question, Ruth, you're on our YouTube page. If that's not your question, please let me know. That's the understanding I get from the question. That
help
she
the
has other
toddlers
children
or the
that need
newborn?
help. Sorry?
Are we helping the toddlers or the newborn?
Not the newborn, but I think the other children. I don't know whether they are toddlers. But she wants to know how to help the other children, not the newborn.
Should I take that?
I don't fully understand the question too.
Okay, Ethel gets it. Thank you, Ethel.
I think that, it's a very common experience. I think most new mothers or new parents tend to have, where a lot of the attention or focus might be on the baby. That's a new one. And then the others might probably feel left out. So that's what I'm thinking might be the question. Now, if that is what it is, unless of course I form my own question, but if that is what it is, I think that it's important for mom. I mean, because I think that sometimes there's some guilt associated with, it seems as if everyone else has been left behind. We're all cooing and eyeing and, loving this new one. So the attention is not properly shared. So if that is the question, then it means that you, the parent, would have to find ways to kind of bring them in as well. So they don't feel like the other, like we're not important anymore because of this. Because I've seen some kids get really upset. Sometimes they'll pinch the baby, because they feel like you've taken all of my attention, especially the one who seemed to be the last baby in quotes, suddenly. And we have this parlance, like in the local parlance, so, that whole thing, as if you are not important or relevant anymore. And for parents, what they can do is, still bring the others around, still make time for the others. I think it's a hard time for parents sometimes, but as and when you get some opportunity, especially when you have the help, let the baby is sleeping, spend some time with the others as well, so that it doesn't feel like the love now has gone completely to one side. And for new mothers, I would encourage, ask for help. Get some help. You can't do it alone because you need your sleep, you need a rest. You might be baby feeding or breastfeeding and all that. All of those things take some of the time. But then you should also get the other children to come around, let them interact with the baby, let them see the baby. They might not carry the baby because you also fear that they might hurt the baby, but let them be around so they feel a part of the experience. And then again, sometimes, just let baby, if daddy would have to take over baby, let that happen. And then you can also focus on the others and do a few things with them as well. It's a hard thing to navigate, but it's also very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. So Ruth is saying that the kids are 9 and 6 years. the older ones. They are 9 and 6 years. And she wants to know how she can be reasonable towards the other ones or reassuring. Oh no, she says reassuring. So yes, that's the response from her. Thank you, Ethel. Thank you.
I agree completely with Ethel's responses. And I think the secret is hyping everything. For a 6 and a 9-year-old, if it's the quality time that you're trying to find with them, right? Just make it a big deal. If daddy is going to take the baby, even for just bedtime, the 6 and 9-year-old's bedtime, just so that you can say good night. Hype it. Hey, quality time with mommy. You know, for this time, it's just me and you. Because in their heads, it will become a big deal, right? And then they become aware that, hey, yes, mommy is making time for me. And then even with how you integrate them into the baby's help. You know, my big helper. Wow, you're such a good big sister. You're so helpful. So hyping things a lot does something for children. Now they feel like, hey, I'm also important. I'm the big sister, I'm the big brother. You know, I have to protect my baby. Or actually, and a lot of children say my baby instead of my baby sister or brother, once they start to feel that sense of responsibility.
Okay. So Stephen is also asking that, is there a place for caning or corporal punishment when rules are broken? Is there where does caning come in? Where does corporal punishment come in? Under what circumstance would we advise or request that corporal punishment be used? Kukwa.
Before I answer this question, the previous question, I'd also like to add that mom can involve the 9-year-old and the 6-year-old.
Yes.
In so she can have responsibilities for them. So the 9-year-old is in charge of getting the diapers ready. The 6-year-old is in charge of getting the clothes ready. So if you involve them in things like that, they get excited about the baby as well. And then you're all doing the same thing. So you're in charge of the toys and this and that. They get excited about it. So that's another strategy I would like to add. And for this corporal punishment caning question, are we how old are the children and are they able to learn from the beating? So the whole idea of punishment is, are they learning something from it? So if it's the beating that's going to, would they learn from it? If they're not learning from it, then you have to find another punishment. That's my, if they're at the age where they can learn from it, yes. But if not, you have to find another punishment. I'll let Dr. P and Ms. Ethel answer.
Kukwa has nice.
Can I add a little something to?
Yes, please go on.
Right. So I think that for the most part, there's a difference between punishment and discipline. And I'd rather say discipline is better than punishment. Punishment doesn't change behavior.
No.
Now, I know people have certain cultures or certain beliefs in their homes, and sometimes I go like, whatever you believe works. But it's important to understand that corporal punishment in no ways changes anything. Rather, what it communicates is, you know, I don't like you. I don't like the being, and not about the behavior, whatever it is that you intend to change. And so it rather leaves a negative experience with that child. Why not look at using reinforcements? Why not look at timeouts, depending on the age? Whatever they like at this point in time, can we use that then to get them to do what it is you want them to do? That is more effective because it has to do with the things you like. But when it comes to corporal punishment or using the cane, it doesn't do anything and rather can scar. It can hurt the child. It can hurt their confidence. And so when it comes to corporal punishment, personally, I would say no. I don't think it works. I don't think it's effective. And I know that sometimes we can have some children that can be very trying. But look, there's always something that can be done. Sometimes the tone that you use, can communicate something, then your actions as well, in terms of how you respond to certain behaviors. All those things can be used to discipline the child so they become what it is you're looking for, rather than the use of the cane. That's a personal, opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Okay. That's a lot. So Elikem is asking, if we can organize some of these trainings or these programs for therapists as well. Yes, we have these webinars being organized once every month. Someone was also asking when our next one would be. It would be the fourth Sunday of, so it's the fourth Sunday of every month. So next month we have if you check on our calendar, it's the disability month. So it's something about disability awareness and a whole lot. We'll be training you all and encouraging and giving you insightful conversations and all that, just as you're having for today. And that is being brought to us by the Behavior Therapy Department of Mission Pediatrics. So yes, there are lots in there. Nidra asked the question. Oh, Dr. Pierre, you want to say something?
No, I was going to point out Nidra's question. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Nidra asked the question. She says she's struggling with setting up family routines. What are some practical tips to achieving a semblance of routine in her house? Bearing in mind that both she and her husband have busy schedules, usually leaving home around 6 a.m. and getting back around 7 p.m. How do I incorporate my leave? Okay, so she has a live-in nanny and she wants to be able to know how she can incorporate the whole process so that everything becomes, well, fairly sane, in quote, at home. Please, any suggestions as to how to help a family that leaves very early, comes back very late, but fortunately has a live-in nanny who helps in the house?
I have 3 suggestions.
Please go ahead.
So first, and a lot of live-in nannies do not feel empowered to implement structure because they're afraid. They're afraid that madam will get angry if they are too strict. And so a thorough conversation about your do's and your don'ts, what is okay and what is not, has to be had with that live-in nanny. Allow her to feel empowered. But for her to feel empowered, she has to know what she can do, right? Can she shout at them? Can she spank them or not? If they don't mind her because they know she's not mommy or daddy, what does she have in her power to do? Can she say no screen time? Can she take away the toys? Or should she call you first and check? So the details have to be discussed with the live-in nanny. I've seen live-in nannies who are amazing if they are coached and empowered, and they do a really good job of instilling the discipline. So that's number 1. Number 2 is
sorry,
that
Dr. Pierre, sorry. She says that the nanny is empowered to do everything.
Oh, okay. Okay,
But
all
really
right.
is that she spells them silly.
Uh-oh. That's what I mean by the empowerment. So the details, right? The spoiling. Sometimes nannies are like grandparents. It's not their child, so it's like, oh, just let them do it. And so it's repeated conversations with them. The second suggestion was a visible schedule. I cannot emphasize it enough. It just makes life easier for everyone. If you have a routine and you can say, wake up 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m., dress and brush, breakfast by 6:30, out of the house by 6:45. If you can have a detailed schedule and it's pasted on the fridge, it's pasted on their bedroom door, it's there for everyone to see, it makes it easier for everyone to follow. And then the nanny has to be the one that empowers them. And then when you get home at 7 p.m., find out how it went. What went well, what didn't go well. Some parents will also have a nanny cam because they want to be able to see what's happening. And sometimes it's helpful. It's not that, it's your child, it's your house. So you want to be able to check in on your phone and see what they're up to. And sometimes that helps the children to think twice before they do some things.
Okay. Ethel, top up, cooks.
No, I think that's basically what Dr. KK said. I don't think I can add any more. She said it all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So for those who are also asking for trainings and all that for their therapists, aside having the free webinars that we have in here, there are also screenings and training programs that we organize on sites in your organizations. So do reach out to Mission Pediatrics and then yes, we'll talk. That one is a side one. Okay, so Ampofo was he's asking that what are some effective ways to emotionally support my wife who is struggling with a difficulty to conceive and the emotional challenges it brings? So he asked the earlier question about conception. There was one comment on our YouTube page with someone saying he's encouraging you to keep praying. That's from Rex, I think. So please, any advice on how to support his wife who is going through the emotional challenges of conception?
So I think that one has already been answered following the IVF, question that was asked earlier. To the one that said they should pray, as we would encourage them to pray, whatever they believe in, that's important. But at the same time, the support should also be there. So the bit about having these conversations, speaking with a professional if they need. And I think that Dr. Christine also mentioned the importance of ensuring that whilst you are seeking this, which is important, make sure that it does not impact the relationship or the marriage itself, because it can. It's a very emotional experience, I should say. And so as much as possible, the conversations, being vulnerable to each other, and being there for each other. So when one party feels down, that's a time where the other needs to step up, with words of encouragement. It's going to be okay. We're in this together. These words can, encourage the other person. And for some people, I tend to ask this, who is your social support? We all need that support from time to time. You can't do it alone. So whilst you're on this, would you say you have some friends who've been through it? You can have conversations with them as well. Sometimes it can be some healthy distractors, that can take your mind off what's going on. If it's gardening, it is watching a good movie, having good laugh sometimes, all of those things. I think they can all be helpful as well whilst you're going through the journey. And these emotional, roller coasters, it's not just, it's not there all the time. You can have those low moments. And when you have them, that's a time to talk. That's the time to connect. That's a time to maybe, focus on other things that can at least take your mind off how you're feeling at the time. So you can still stay positive regardless of what might be going on.
Thank you, Ethel. Thank you. So please bear in mind that we'll be ending soon. Ruth has a question and she's asking that how can she overcome her emotions around her children when she's battling with post-eclampsia? Post-eclampsia, how can she manage her emotions around her children? Anyone would like to set the ball rolling? Or I should call names.
I think in some ways, some of the ideas that came up in self-care will be really helpful. Sometimes it's okay to take a break, if you're able to get help. So let grandma or somebody else take them for a while when you start to feel burnt out and stressed, because that stress is not good physically for you. So it's about setting boundaries and separating and pulling back when you need to. And sometimes you can put your foot down and say, you know what, right now I can't handle this. Everybody just freeze, go to your room, do something quiet. Mommy is tired. You have a right to, with our warmth and our love, we still have to set our boundaries for ourselves. But it is a very difficult thing to go through. So get the help that you can.
So in getting the help on that same angle, Jacinta is asking that, so for single parents who do not have much support, how do they strike the balance to prevent burnout and taking it out on the kids?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that is oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Ethel,
Ethel, go ahead.
I have the right to call you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so should I take it?
Yes,
Right.
please take it.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay. Yeah, so it still goes back to some of the things we have talked about. If you're a single parent, you still have friends, you still have family, people that are your support, your people, the people that you can actually go to and ask for help sometimes. If you can afford it and you can get some help, let's say a nanny or something, please do so. It doesn't mean that you are not a good mother or that you're not a good parent. I think it's very important. So if you don't have much support, there is still some support. I mean, much, you said you don't have much. So it means there's still some. Okay, so who are your go-to people? Sometimes it can be some very good friends that you have. You can have your kids either go to that bit, go visit, or maybe just a couple of days. If you have a sibling, they can do that just so you can, get back into yourself, get into that space of Zen, and then you can get back out there and give the best. And like I say, I tend to say you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't
Yeah.
do it all. And I don't think that any of us hasn't got anybody. There's definitely somebody in your corner. So please make use of those people. That is why they're there. And it's also important for us because I think I saw in there was a question that Kuku asked during her presentation. And the question had to do with which parts would you want to probably improve? Some were talking about the social aspect. Yes, it's important. Please make friends. Open up that door. We need other people. We can't do it alone. Oh. Women, we can't do it alone. Men, we can't do it alone. So please just open up. Have a few good people around and let them support whenever they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. And just as Resk is also saying on our YouTube page, he's also encouraging her to meditate for at least 15 minutes so that it helps her relax and manage her emotions too. And yes, I haven't forgotten Edith's question as to how would you make your husband understand that getting angry with the kids and yelling? Okay, so getting angry with the kids, yelling and beating is not the best. How do you make your husband understand that? Let me ask, did he join the session? If not, please encourage him to watch when we are done. That's my first one. The next ones, they'll tell you. I think Kukwa wants to share. Kukwa, kindly go ahead.
I want to add to Jacinta's question, and
Oh,
I'll leave this question for Dr. Pierre. So, for the single parents question, it's very important that you don't feel any guilt when you are paying for social support. So it's okay, as I mentioned earlier, it's okay to have someone doing the meals for you. It's okay to have someone doing the dishes and the sweeping and everything. And it doesn't always have to be someone you have to pay monthly or weekly. It can be someone you knew from childhood who has a child and they just need a place to live. So then you are offering the place to live and they are offering that. So there are so many options, and I want to say to Jacinta that she can explore all these options, pick someone, help the person with accommodation, and the person can also help with your child. Yeah.
butter trader. Okay. So Matthew is also asking that in asking for help, how can he advise his wife after they had a terrible experience with an external help? That's after their firstborn. How can he advise his wife to get help for the second child they have because it is stressful? How can he do that?
So let me tackle the one about the husband beating the child.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ethel's question. Did it change the behavior? So post-analysis of the behavior. And to add on to that is one, talk to him not when he's hot, right? It's not when he's emotional and still seething.
Okay.
And an approach like that can be very helpful to say, okay, so we've been beating him for years now. Is it working? It doesn't seem to be working. Can we try something else and see? But the other approach is figure out what his triggers are. I mean, it's good for us to know our partners really well. Maybe he's afraid that the child will end up, unsuccessful. Maybe he sees himself in the child in some way, so his reaction is emotional. Maybe the behavior reminds him of his parents or something. So you might have to become a little bit of a therapist in analyzing what exactly is triggering him to overreact. Is it that he was treated that way? If it is, then a conversation about how did that affect him? You know, casual conversations about, hey, so, you know, when they used to beat you, and tell me about a time when they really beat you. How did it make you feel? To try and pull out these issues. You can also schedule a session with the psychologist. There's a lot of research out there about the effects of physical punishments or discipline on children. A lot of times it makes them more aggressive because children model behavior. So the more you beat them, the more when they're angry, they'll be physical because that's what you're teaching them by what you're doing. So sometimes pointing out these things, but always when not in the heat of the moment, right? Sometimes you might have to pull yourself away from the situation because it's too much. But when he's calmer, trying to have those conversations. And then as a last resort, maybe pull in an uncle or somebody who sees things the way you do to try to talk to him as well.
Okay, so then what about Matthew, who is asking for how he can encourage the wife to get help, to get her help to support with their everyday activities?
Okay,
Okay,
so
I'll
maybe
start.
just
Okay, Ethel, go ahead.
I was waiting for you.
I nearly mentioned your name. Thank you for stopping me.
So the first time didn't work out. So it means we'd have to do due diligence the second time. That's really important. And the fact that it didn't work the first time does not mean that it will not work the second time. At times, it's just, being a lot more open. You have to sometimes try a number of things just to get what it is you're looking for. It's the same thing like when it comes to getting a help. It's all about the relationship and the connection. If it's not working, it's okay to let them go. So if, let's say you've had a terrible experience with one, I'm hoping that you'll be open to trying again, but this time a lot more due diligence to ensure that whoever you're bringing in, will do what it is that you expect. Have some cameras in the house as well, some video cameras. I think these things also help because you sometimes, you can have all of it done, but you might still not, get what it is you're looking for. And I think that human behavior is very complex. And so as part of that, you can have some checks in place. Sometimes when you have some children at home who are a little older, who are verbal, they can also tell you some of the things as well. Ask them certain questions when you come back home, and they can tell you certain things. And then you can please do take them seriously, because sometimes they are seeing things you are not. And some can be very good at masking some behaviors, especially when you're around. And so due diligence is one, have cameras in place, let them know so they know that, yes, you are watching from wherever it is. And I think that can also maybe set your wife's, anxiety at ease, at least a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ethel. Any more suggestions, or that's enough? We have a minute to go, and Sylvia is asking, this is my last one. He's saying he doesn't want any mother-in-law troubles in the future. So although his girlfriend is currently suggesting that when she puts to bed, she would like to bring her mom to the house, he is objecting to that. Is he wrong in saying so? Would that add up to okay? So Ethel is asking that how is the mother-in-law like currently? That would serve as a way of helping us understand. Then at least we can support with an answer. So in a way, look at current. How is the mother-in-law like? Is she someone who is troublesome? Is she someone who is always picky or wants to, what they say, infifimu? Check all these things, get to know, and then later both of you can decide well. Okay, I must say a very big thank you to everyone, to our viewers who watched on our YouTube channel, and to those who have shared with others, and to those who will be sharing. We appreciate everything. Josiah, we are grateful to you also. So today we have a sign language person joining us for the day. We are thankful to everyone who joined us on Zoom. we say a big thank you to you. Every month, we do this. We do this as part of our corporate social responsibility in helping others get to learn more. And for this year, our target is not just about the kids. Our target is about you as an individual, helping you help our kids. So we are grateful you joined us. We are thankful that you are here. And all we ask is that, please, as you've learned something, as you've shared something, as you've gotten something, Xavier, you're getting answers in the chat box, so please read it. As you've gotten something, don't keep it to yourself. Help others get to learn also. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns whatsoever, and please do seek for help when there is a need to seek for help. And for those people who would want, the organizations who would want to have or come into contact with us at Mission Pediatrics, I'm just going to mention our numbers so that you can call us at any time. So I'm mentioning Mission Pediatrics' number currently. It's 024 724 1447. I'm repeating, please. 024 724 1447. The Vodafone number is 020 329 5292. Repetition, 020 329 5292. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you next month, the fourth Sunday, talking about Disability Month. And yes, it's going to be a public lecture. Thank you. And let's keep sharing the love. Don't forget to let your kids know you love them. Don't forget to help them know that you appreciate the slightest thing they do for you. Celebrate it. Let them feel loved. Have a good evening and enjoy the week, the upcoming week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Please, those who haven't filled our polls, please
Bye.
fill it.
Thank
I
you.
beg. Thank you.